Hello everyone, this is Tactical Lich here and welcome to another episode of Total War Warhammer 2 Online Multiplayer. Last week, a viewer in comments suggested I should try out the Vampirate in the new meta and see how they do. That's exactly what I did, but unfortunately I did not run into any Beastman or Lizardman players, so here we have a replay against the Vampire counts. Now, as you can see here, the counter army is designed specifically to counter Vampirate gun lines. We have a lot of zombie chaff here to tie down the zombie pirate deckhand mobs, and of course Felbats in the skies to disrupt the firing of missile units from the Vampirates. Some cheap mobility here at Black Knights to slam into the backs of the missile infantry or artillery crew of the Vampirates, and also dire packs to sneak into the backline and rampage among the missile units. As for some more serious killing power, we have a couple black coaches here using their masks to punch through the zombie pirate deckhand mobs and acting as a devastating chariot. As for leadership, the vampire counts are going for an assassination attempt with a couple banshees as well as a blood dragon in the skies, coming in with all the assassination toolkits. Banshees, being an ethereal unit, will be pretty useful against any armored single entities that the Vampirates might bring, like say the crabs or the Leviathan. As for Blood Dragon, a very powerful duelist with abilities like Helm of Discord and Heart Piercing to help himself in melee combat. Now for the Vampirates, we have actually an elite box build here. No artillery, only one missile unit, so this is not exactly what my opponent has in mind for sure. We have a bunch of zombie pirate deckhand mobs with polearms here, anti-large armor piercing, very good against any kind of vampire counts, cavalry and monsters, and in the middle are meat of the army. Black spots to provide that armor piercing missiles, a couple death guards here with polearms, holding the line with their elite stats as well as their regeneration, the hunger. We also have a couple rotting Prometheans here. With their sturdy shells, they can comfortably hold the line, while the arm-piercing guns on their backs will be shooting at anything flying too close to the formation, even in combat. As for leadership, we have a vampire fleet captain with Lord Vampires to heal and provide summons, while a gunnery white is also present to provide some additional armor-piercing firepower, bringing Scabscraft as well in case there are any current race that needs to be banished. Both of them are on crabs. Now, Lord of the Army is Aranessa Saltspike, with Kraken's Mane to provide extra melee attack and bonus versus large, and also All Hands Ahoy to buff up that weapon damage. She would be a valuable asset to support this whole elite blob formation. Now that we're done with army composition, let's get the battle rolling and see what happens. We're gonna start the battle with a bit of fast forwarding as our forces of the Vampirates are now pushing forward. As you can see here, there's a bunch of water space right here. So, being aquatic, the troops will gain a bonus in fighting in water. Especially these Lamprey's Revenge water large creatures. They actually get some melee buff from fighting in water, while opponent's infantry might get a debuff. I forgot exactly what, but I think Legend of Total War said there's a slight melee attack or defense debuff to infantry units. So to maximize our advantage in the battle, and this time including utilizing the terrain, we will be selecting our battlefield right here with the missile pressure from the black spots and of course our gunnery white. We should be able to pressure them forward instead of staying in the trees and waiting for us to push instead. Now, of course, my opponent is not rushing at all. He is very, very carefully surrounding my formation with the mobile units, Black Knights circling around to the back, Felbats also positioning ready to swarm in, but there are no missile units for them to swarm, honestly. Black spots aren't exactly slouch in melee combat, while the Lamprey's Revenge, they are absolute tanks and Felbats can't even do much against them. The Vampirates have no routing units to exploit either. Right beneath the Felbats, the Black Coach is moving into position around the flanks, readying to strike, while the rest of the Vampire units are just cautiously pushing through the tree lines towards Vampire Coast. The other Black Coach was taking cover a little bit more to the front in the trees, however, it was a bit too close to the black spot, so it took some bullets from the gunnery mob. Over here, some banshees coming in trying to drag my infantry away from the formation and almost succeeding. Some of the polearm deckhand mobs are getting dragged away as they pursue, as well as Aranessa, but banshees elude their grasp. Now the deckhand mobs are a little bit out of position while the zombies starting to swarm in, and the Black Knights at the back are circling around Banshees are now actually going after the leadership units as well as Blood Dragon Vampire Lord, taking some chip damage already from the Lamprey's Revenge and Rotting Prometheans. He's coming in with Heart Piercing, and also Van Hell's Dance Macabre buffing his melee stats over the roof. But it's not exactly doing the most damage here. Yes, he is armor sundering, but it's not enough to cut through the initial 120 armor of the crab. Most of the damage is just absorbed by the thick shells, and the Vampire Fleet Captain stands firm. At the back, the gap between the zombie Paradecon mobs is enlarged by all the troops pouring in, dragging troops away from protecting the flank, so the Black Knights are able to slam into the black spots, stopping them from firing, but that also leaves them in a pickle as the zombie Paradecon mobs are swarming in, just blocking them from behind. They are now unable to extract. They can't push through either because of the zombies blocking their way, and also Rotting Prometheans munching on them. Already dying, no doubt will be soon gone in a minute. Now, Blood Dragon Vampire Lord, he is taking significant damage from all the anti-large infantry. Remember, Aranessa does give bonus versus large for units around her, and even the Vampire Fleet Captain is now getting buffed by Aranessa with the 55 melee attack as well as 8 more from that bonus versus large. The Vampire Fleet Captain is counter-punching hard against this Blood Dragon Lord. Aranessa, also being an anti-large unit, armor piercing as well, slice up the Blood Dragon Lord pretty damn well, already almost at the healing cap. Blood Dragon Lord has to be careful in the upcoming action. Now the Black Knights are slamming into the flanks again. Black coaches are just cycle charging, trying to dish out whatever damage they can, but with all the anti-large infantry in the fray, I'm afraid that these large units would not be too effective, especially the Lamprey's Revenge are just not taking any damage. And remember, they regenerate as well, so whatever damage was dealt onto them, as long as they're not killed, they will heal it back up. All the while, the Black coaches are just getting grinded down by the halberds, with all the armor piercing and anti-large credit to Aranessa. Our valiant Blood Dragon Lord, jumping in yet again, trying to assassinate the Vampire Coast characters, just to no avail. Banshee's also trying to stab these Vampire Fleet Captain as well as Aranessa with the ghostly shanks, but Aranessa, despite not being an unbreakable unit and also being rather squishy, she's still pretty survivable against something like any character assassinations other than, say, large monsters. So as long as there are no mammoths or dragons on the field, she can even hold out okay against Snitch given the right support. And with such an infantry blob like this, there's no doubt she has the infantry help she needed. You can see that the two ghostly assailant against Aranessa desperately trying to focus her down, but Aranessa and her zombie blob is just refusing to go down. Now even the Corpse Card with Balefire is engaging in melee combat, which is quite crucial in here. The Balefire Corpse Card basically cut off all my supply from Winds of Magic once I cast a few spells in the beginning. Debuff to magic regeneration on the Corpse Card Balefire. The Balefire aura is based on the number of units around your Corpse Card. And since I'm fighting in a blob, basically most of my units are covered by a single Balefire Corpse Card. My magic regeneration is just completely stopped. No heals, no summons. While over here, Black Spot actually managed to pull out of combat, fire a bit into the Blood Dragon, dropping it to 680 health, but the Dire Pax, who has always been in reserve, rushed in and chilled up all the remaining Black Spots, so no more gunline for the Vampirates. But the Lamprey's Revenge and Rotting Prometheans are still firing. Blood Dragon Lord trying to dodge the shots, but not quite successful, as bullets are not exactly the easiest thing to dodge right here. And with the Blood Dragon Vampire Lord going down like that, already crumbling, there is just simply no way for the Vampire counts to pull it back, as all they have left are some Black coaches who will no doubt die to the armor-piercing attacks from the Rotting Prometheans, while their anti-infantry attacks won't be too great against the crabs. With Stunsman being the only other remaining powerhouse unit, there's simply not enough armor-piercing to grind through all the crabs and death gods. And with the death of the Vampire Lord, my opponent decided to throw the towel, showing the Vampirates being the true superior undead faction, proving that even Vampire Coast can bring an elite box to devastate the Vampire Count's army. Before we go into the battle performances, I would like to thank you for watching my video. I hope you enjoy it, and if you do, don't forget to hit that like and subscribe, as I will be regularly uploading content on tips and strategies for online multiplayer, wild builds, or just general battle replays like this one. Recently, I also started doing some streams on themed army builds, so keep an eye out on new content update, and be sure to check them out. If you have any battle replays that you are particularly proud of and want to showcase, feel free to send me an email or drop by the Discord to share me the replay file, and I'll be sure to check it out and see if I can make a video out of it. Now, without further ado, let's go into the army performances. For the leadership of the Vampirate Elite Box, Aranessa Saltspite, and also the Vampire Fleet Captain are generating quite a bit of value, consider that they were up against some tough melee combatants, say the Blood Dragon Vampire Lord and the Banshees. Most surprisingly, the Vampire Fleet Captain actually beating the Blood Dragon in combat. Her armor and also the anti-large coming in from Aranessa certainly help her out for sure. Now, the Gunnery White didn't have a lot of good targets to use a Scab's Grave on, but the chip damage from his guns is pretty crucial in cutting down the health on key targets, like again, the Blood Dragon Vampire Lord in the skies. For the infantry line, the zombie pirate deckhand mobs are earning value very cost efficiently. Costing only 400, this deckhand mobs earn back around 2.5 times their cost. 2 chevrons, assuming they fought against tough targets like say Black Coach or Blood Dragon Vampire Lord the whole time, they are earning much more than what they're worth. These zombie pirate deckhand mobs as well, earning back all their value, and this one, despite not having a lot of value generated, most of the unit strength is intact, so that means they still have a lot of steam and a lot of potential for further damage. Same goes for the Death Gods. Not the most damage, they didn't even recover their value, but consider that this one is almost full strength and this one still have around 40% strength left. They still have long ways to go. The black spots here getting killed off, chilled down, and just hammered by the Black Knights, Dire Packs, and all the Felbats, didn't manage to recover their value, but despite all that, being a regiment of renown and also having anti-large attacks, they still managed to get some value out of combat. Getting 600 gold, shooting at random targets, and in the end chip away the health of the Blood Dragon Vampire Lord. Pretty useful stuff. And also our absolute tanks here, Lamprey's Revenge and Rotting Prometheans. Not a single unit model loss. Earning 1,693 on the Lamprey's Revenge and not a lot of value on the Rotting Prometheans, but they are just there to hold the line, and tanking any additional damage is honestly just a plus. Now for the Vampire counts. Unfortunately for them, they still struggle against elite box builds. They don't have a lot of artillery to crack open these kind of tightly packed formations. It only comes in the form of magic spells, say Winds of Death or Pit of Shades. But who in their right mind would bring Winds of Death against Vampire Coast? So in this case, my opponents reserved the magic for Invocation of Nahax to sustain his units. If I remember correctly, my opponent went for the logical route, bringing Dance Macabre, Zombie Summons, and Healing for this matchup, which proves to be insufficient to crack open this kind of elite boxes. You can see that the Blood Dragon Vampire Lord, despite earning 1,800 value, is just not enough to pull back the fight, as he got sniped by Aranessa and the Vampire Fleet Captain, as well as some ground bullet fire. The Banshees here not earning a lot of value for some reason, assuming that they were stuck fighting a bunch of halberds and that the melee defense of Aranessa Saltspite is just too good for them to cut through. Zombies here, they are zombies after all, so don't expect much from them. The Stalkers, Konigstein Stalkers, they have poison attacks, a better skeleton unit, but still, just a skeleton and against something, say like Death Gods, they are not enough, and let alone fighting against heavily armored, rotting Prometheans. Sternsmen here, they are more of a tanking unit than a damage dealer, so not earning a lot of value either. We have some Black Knights, they also didn't have the best kind of scenario to do their damage. They would be good against gun lines, good against artillery crew, but we don't have any of that. Yes, black spots are handguns, but they do have that anti-large attack coming with them as a regiment of renowned special attribute. So none of this elite box units are an optimal engagement for the Black Knights. Felbats, as I said, in this build matchup, they just do not have the good targets to engage. Dire Packs here earning a bit of value by chewing up the black spots and doing some rear charges, but that's basically it. The most impactful unit in the whole game is the Corpse Card with Balefire, due to that aura limiting my magic regeneration. Black Coach here not earning back their value either, due to the lack of optimal targets. Slamming themselves into large targets means that their bonus versus infantry won't work, and also halberds. Just a lot of halberds here. As long as they engage in melee, they will take armor piercing anti-large damage, which is like the worst kind of damage they're facing. Yes, they are pretty survivable if you can get them through the infantry, but given that infantry these days are so strong due to their lack of knockdowns, the black coaches simply just struggle to get out unscathed. Overall, my opponent bring a pretty good build against a regular Vampirate army. It's just that my army is, as usual, kind of irregular. You don't expect to see an elite box from a Vampirate army usually. Yes, there are some rushes, you can have monsters pushing, but a full-on box, a defensive elite blob, that is not your typical Vampirates. There are no gun lines, no artillery, just a very tough shell to crack, especially given the vampire counts lack armor-piercing anti-large other than the form of monsters. The crabs would be hell for them to crack open. A little bit of tangent here, but I feel like they really need the Grave God with halberds. I'm not sure do they exist on tabletop, but Vampire Counts right now struggles to do anything against large monsters with high armor. And I hope CA would give them a little bit of much needed buff on that area. And that's basically all I have for today. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Tactical Lich, signing out.